The signal came from a small blue planet at the edge of the galaxy. It was weak. It was simple. It was nothing special. At least, that was what the Galactic Council believed when they first received it. Counselor stood in the great chamber and looked at the hologram floating before him. His 4 eyes studied the image of Earth with something close to boredom. He had seen hundreds of new species join the galactic community over his long life. Most of them were the same: weak, scared, easy to control. "Another primitive world," he said to the other council members. His voice was deep and smooth, like stones rolling underwater. "They call themselves humans. They have only just discovered how to leave their own planet." The other counselors made sounds of agreement. There were 12 of them in total, each one from a different species, each one powerful, each one old. They had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years, and they were very good at it. "What do we know about them?" asked Counselor Myra. She was from a species of tall, thin beings with silver skin. Her voice was like music, soft and beautiful, but her eyes were cold. Waved his hand and the hologram changed. Now it showed images of human cities, human ships, human people going about their daily lives. The council watched with mild interest. "They are short-lived," explained. "Most of them die before they reach 100 years. They are physically weak compared to most species. They cannot see in the dark. They cannot breathe underwater. They have no natural weapons, no claws, no venom, no armor." "Then why are we even discussing them?" asked Counselor. He was massive, covered in thick plates of bone. His species had conquered dozens of worlds through strength alone. "They sound useless." "Because they asked to meet us," replied. "They sent a message requesting diplomatic contact. They want to join the galactic community." The council chamber filled with quiet laughter. The sound echoed off the high walls and disappeared into the darkness above. "Let them come," said Myra. "It will be entertaining to see what these creatures are like, and perhaps they have resources we can use." Nodded slowly. He pressed a button on his chair and the message was sent. Earth would receive an invitation. The humans would come to the council station, and then, like all the others before them, they would learn their place in the galaxy. Far away on the blue planet called Earth, Ambassador received the message. She was sitting in her office when it arrived, looking out at the city below. Seoul was beautiful at night, full of lights and life and movement. She loved this city. She loved this world. And now she was going to represent it to creatures from the stars. Was not what most people expected when they thought of an ambassador. She was small, with short black hair and calm eyes. She did not speak loudly or make big gestures, but there was something about her that made people listen. When she talked, even the most powerful leaders paid attention. She read the message twice, then picked up her phone and made a call. "Captain," she said, "we have been invited. Prepare the ship." On the other end of the line, Captain smiled. He was a tall man with broad shoulders and a face that had seen many battles. He had been a soldier once, then a pilot, then a captain. Now he was in charge of humanity's first true spacecraft, the vessel that would carry them to the stars. "How long do we have?" he asked. 3 days, replied. "They are sending coordinates. The journey will take 2 weeks. Nodded even though she could not see him. "I will have everything ready. The crew is eager to go." "Tell them to stay calm," said. "This is not a celebration. This is a test. These aliens have been watching us. They think they know what we are. We must be careful." "Understood," said. "But Ambassador, what do you think they want from us?" Was quiet for a moment. Outside her window, a plane flew across the night sky, its lights blinking red and white. How small it seemed now, compared to what was coming. "They want to use us," she finally said. "Every empire wants to use those who are weaker, but we are not as weak as they think. We just need to show them that at the right time." The ship launched 3 days later just as planned, stood on the bridge and watched as Earth grew smaller and smaller behind them. The crew was quiet, everyone thinking their own thoughts. This was the moment humanity had dreamed about for centuries. First contact, meeting other life forms, joining a larger universe. But did not feel excited. She felt cautious. She had studied the message from the council very carefully. The words were polite, but there was something underneath them, something that felt like a trap. Captain stood beside her, his hands clasped behind his back. He was watching the stars ahead, his face unreadable. "What do you think they look like?" he asked quietly. "I do not know," admitted, "but I do not think it matters. What matters is what they think of us." "And what do you think they think of us?" Smiled slightly. It was not a happy smile. "They think we are small, young, weak, easy to control. Every signal they have received from Earth probably confirmed this. They saw our wars, our diseases, our suffering. They think we are just another primitive species." "Are they wrong?" asked. Turned to look at him. Her eyes were sharp like a blade hidden in silk. "They are very wrong, but they will not understand that until it is too late." The journey took 14 days. During that time, the crew trained, studied, and prepared. They learned everything they could about the limited information the council had shared. They practiced diplomatic protocols. They ran emergency drills. They ate together, slept in shifts, and tried not to think about what was waiting for them. On the 15th day, they arrived. The council station was enormous. It hung in space like a small moon, covered in lights and towers and docking ports. Ships of every size and shape moved around it, coming and going from 100 different worlds. Had never seen anything like it. None of them had. "Stay calm," she said to the crew. "Remember why we are here. We represent all of humanity. Every person on Earth is watching us through our eyes." The ship docked without any problems. The doors opened and they stepped out into the station. The air was different here, cleaner, thinner, with a strange smell that could not identify. The walls were made of some kind of metal that seemed to glow from within. Everything was big, too big for humans. It was designed for creatures much larger than them. A group of aliens was waiting for them. Recognized Counselor from the images they had been sent. He was tall, nearly 3 meters, with 4 eyes and skin the color of dark stone. His mouth did not move when he spoke. Instead, his voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Welcome to the Galactic Council Station," he said. "I am Counselor. I will be your guide during your stay." Stepped forward and bowed her head slightly. Not too much, just enough to show respect without showing weakness. "Thank you, Counselor. I am Ambassador. This is Captain and my delegation from Earth. We are honored to be here." Studied her with his 4 eyes. She could not read his expression. She did not know if his species even had expressions. "You are smaller than I expected," he said. "We hear that often," replied calmly, "but we have found that size is not always important." Something changed in his posture. It was subtle, but noticed it. He was surprised. He had expected her to be nervous, to stutter, to apologize for being small. Instead, she had answered him directly. "Follow me," he said after a moment. "The council is waiting to meet you." They walked through the station, passing aliens of every kind. Some were tall, some were short. Some had wings, some had tails, some had too many eyes or not enough legs. All of them stopped to stare at the humans, could feel their curiosity, their judgment, their dismissal. She kept walking, her face showed nothing. The council chamber was the largest room had ever seen. It was round, with seats rising up on all sides like a stadium. Each seat held a counselor, and each counselor was different from the others. They looked down at the human delegation like scientists studying insects. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," announced, "I present the delegation from Earth, the species known as humans." The room was silent, could feel every eye on her. She stood straight, her hands at her sides, her face calm. "Thank you for receiving us," she said. Her voice was clear and strong. It filled the chamber without her having to shout. "We come in peace, seeking friendship and cooperation with all members of the galactic community. One of the counselors leaned forward. It was the massive one covered in bone plates. "Peace," he rumbled. "Our records show that your species has been fighting wars against itself for your entire history. You do not seem to understand peace." Did not flinch. "You are correct," she said. "We have fought many wars, we have made many mistakes, but we have also learned from those mistakes. Every battle taught us something. Every loss made us stronger. We are not proud of our wars, counselor, but we are not ashamed of surviving them." The chamber was quiet again. The counselors looked at each other, communicating in ways could not understand. Finally, Counselor Myra spoke. Her voice was sweet, but her words were sharp. "You speak well for such a young species, but words are easy. We will need to see what you can actually do." "Of course," said, "we are ready for whatever tests you have prepared." Myra smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Good, then let us begin. By the time we are finished, we will know exactly what humanity is worth." Smiled back. Her smile was just as cold. "Yes," she said, "you will." The tests began the next morning, and her delegation were taken to a large arena deep inside the station. The walls were white and smooth, and the floor was marked with lines and circles that meant nothing to the humans. Dozens of aliens sat in viewing areas above, watching with interest. Word had spread quickly. The new species was being tested, and everyone wanted to see. Counselor stood at the center of the arena, his 4 eyes moving slowly across the human group. There were 20 of them in total, and 18 others chosen for their different skills. Scientists, soldiers, doctors, engineers, the best Earth had to offer. "The assessment will test you in several areas," explained. "Physical strength, mental ability, sensory awareness, cooperation with other species. Your performance will determine your position in the galactic community." "What positions are available?" asked. Looked at him. "That depends on your results. Those who perform well may become trading partners or military allies. Those who perform poorly become," he paused, "protected species." Understood what he meant. Protected species were controlled species. They had no power, no voice, no freedom. The council took care of them like pets, or like prisoners. "We understand," she said. "Please begin." The first test was strength. A machine was brought into the arena, a simple device with handles that measured how hard someone could pull. Several alien species went first to demonstrate. A creature with 6 arms pulled with the force of a small vehicle. A being made of living stone barely seemed to try, yet the machine nearly broke from the pressure. The council members made sounds of approval. Then it was the human's turn. Stepped forward. He was the strongest person in their group, a man who had trained his body for years. He grabbed the handles, set his feet, and pulled with everything he had. The number on the machine was less than half of what the weakest alien had achieved. Quiet laughter came from the viewing areas. Kept her face still, but she saw his jaw tighten. He stepped back without saying anything. "Disappointing," Counselor said from above, "but not surprising. Next test." The second test was mental power. Many species in the galaxy had some form of telepathy, the ability to read minds or send thoughts without speaking. A device was placed on each human's head, one by one, to measure their mental energy. Nothing, every human scored 0. They had no telepathic ability at all. More laughter, more whispers. Heard words like primitive and limited floating down from above. The third test was sensory awareness. The humans were placed in a dark room and asked to navigate to the other side. Sounds played at frequencies too high or too low for human ears to hear. Colors flashed in spectrums human eyes could not see. The humans stumbled, they bumped into walls, they missed every signal. By the time the third test was over, the mood in the arena had changed. The aliens were no longer curious. They were bored. Some of them had already left. The humans were exactly what they had expected: weak, blind, deaf, and useless. Counselor Myra stood up from her seat. "I have seen enough," she announced. "This species has nothing to offer the Council. They should be classified as a protected species and managed accordingly." Several counselors nodded in agreement. Watched them carefully, nodding who agreed quickly and who hesitated. "Wait," she said. The chamber went quiet. Myra looked down at her with cold amusement. "You wish to say something, human?" "Yes," stepped forward, her hands clasped in front of her. "I noticed that all of your tests measure things we are bad at: strength, telepathy, senses. You already knew we would fail these tests. You designed them that way." Four eyes narrowed. "Are you accusing us of being unfair?" "No," said calmly. "I am asking why you have not tested what we are good at." "And what would that be?" asked mockingly. "What can a species that fails every basic test possibly be good at?" Smiled, "Solving problems." The arena was silent. "Give us a problem," she continued. "Any problem, something difficult, something that requires thinking, not just strength or special abilities. Let us show you what humans can do." The counselors looked at each other. They had not expected this. They had expected the humans to accept their place quietly, like all the others before them. Finally spoke, "Very well, we will give you a problem." He pressed a button and a hologram appeared in the center of the arena. It showed a complex system of pipes, chambers, and valves. "This is a water purification system from one of our colonies. It has been broken for 3 months. Our best engineers have not been able to fix it. Can you?" Turned to her team. Among them was a woman named, a water engineer who had spent 20 years solving exactly these kinds of problems. She studied the hologram carefully, walking around it, looking at it from every angle. "I need more information," she said. "What is the water source? What are the main contaminants? What materials are the pipes made of?" Provided the information, asked more questions, then more. She drew diagrams in the air with her finger, pointing out different parts of the system to her colleagues. They discussed, argued, and discussed some more. An hour passed. The counselors grew restless. Some of them complained that this was taking too long. Then looked up. "We found it," she said. "The problem is here." She pointed to a small junction deep in the system. "There is a pressure imbalance causing. Your engineers have been trying to fix the symptoms, but the cause is this single valve that is installed incorrectly. It needs to be turned around." Checked her answer against the system records. His 4 eyes went wide. "She is correct," he said slowly. "The valve was installed backward during construction. We never noticed." The arena was very quiet now. "That is not all," continued. "While looking at this, I noticed several other inefficiencies in your design. If you make these changes," she highlighted several parts of the hologram, "you can increase output by 30% and reduce energy use by half." Leaned forward. "How did you figure this out? You have never seen our technology before." Shrugged. "Water is water. Physics is physics. The basic principles are the same everywhere. We just looked at the problem and worked through it step by step." Watched the counselors carefully. Their expressions had changed. They were no longer bored. They were confused, maybe even a little worried. "One problem proves nothing," Myra said sharply. "Perhaps you were lucky." "Then give us another," replied. They did, and another, and another. Each time the humans solved the problem. Not quickly, not easily, but they solved it. They asked questions. They made guesses. They tried things that did not work, learned from their mistakes, and tried again. They worked together, combining their different knowledge and skills. A broken communication system was fixed by a man named, who found a pattern in the static that the alien technicians had missed. A medical mystery was solved by a doctor named, who recognized the symptoms as similar to a disease that had once affected humans centuries ago. A navigation error was corrected by a young woman named, who realized that the aliens had been using the wrong reference point for their calculations. By the end of the day, the humans had solved 7 problems that the Council had been struggling with for years. 7 problems that their best minds had failed to fix. The counselors were no longer laughing. Stood in front of his expression unreadable. "How do you do this?" he asked. "You have no strength, no telepathy, no special senses, yet you solve problems that defeat species far more advanced than you." Thought about her answer carefully. "We have had to," she finally said. "We grew up on a difficult planet. Everything tried to kill us, the weather, the animals, the diseases, even each other. We had no claws, no armor, no venom. So we learned to think, to adapt, to never give up." "That seems inefficient," said. "Perhaps, but it works." Looked up at the council chamber, meeting the eyes of every counselor in turn. "We may not be the strongest species. We may not live the longest or see the farthest or hear the quietest sounds, but we never stop trying. We never stop learning. We never stop looking for solutions." "And if there is no solution?" Myra asked from above. Smiled, "Then we make one." The council chamber was silent for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "The assessment is complete," he announced. "The humans have surprised us. We will discuss their classification and inform them of our decision." The human delegation was led back to their quarters. They walked through the station's corridors, passing aliens who now looked at them differently, not with amusement or dismissal, but with curiosity, maybe even respect. "That went well," said quietly. "It went exactly as I expected," replied. "They tested what we are bad at. We showed them what we are good at. Now they have to decide what to do with that information." "What do you think they will decide?" Was quiet for a moment. "I do not know, but I do know this: they are not sure about us anymore. They thought they understood humans. Now they realize they were wrong, and that makes them nervous." "Is that good or bad?" asked. Looked back at the council chamber, where the lights were still glowing through the windows. Somewhere in there, 12 powerful beings were discussing humanity's fate. They had the power to help Earth or destroy it, to welcome humans or enslave them. "It depends," she said finally, "on what happens next." That night could not sleep. She stood by the window of her quarters looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there far away was Earth, her home, her people, everything she was fighting for. She thought about the tests. The Council had designed them to make humans look weak, and in many ways the humans were weak. They could not match the strength of people. They could not read minds like Myra's species. They were small and fragile and short-lived. But they had something else, something the Council did not understand yet, something that had carried humanity through ice ages and plagues and wars, through disasters that should have ended them forever. They had will, they had hope, they had each other. And that new was more dangerous than any claw or weapon. A soft knock came at her door. She opened it to find Captain standing outside. "Cannot sleep either?" he asked. "No, I keep thinking about tomorrow." Nodded. "The Council is still meeting. Whatever they are discussing, it is taking a long time. That means they are not sure what to do with us. If they were going to classify us as a protected species, they would have done it already. So that is good news." Turned back to the window. "Maybe, or maybe they are deciding something else, something we have not thought of." Was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Whatever they decide, the crew is ready. We will face it together." Smiled slightly. "Thank you, Captain. That is exactly what I needed to hear." She did not know what tomorrow would bring, but she knew one thing for certain. Humanity had come to the stars, and they were not going to leave quietly. The alarm woke everyone at exactly 3:47 in the morning. Was on her feet before she was fully awake. The sound was loud and sharp, cutting through the walls like a knife. Red lights flashed in the corridor outside. She could hear shouting in languages she did not understand. Captain burst through her door without knocking. His face was serious. "Something is wrong," he said. "The station is in trouble." They ran out into the corridor together. Other members of their delegation were already there, looking confused and scared. The aliens around them were running in every direction, their movements frantic. Had never seen them like this. Yesterday they had been calm and superior. Now they looked terrified. "What is happening?" she asked a passing alien. The creature did not stop. It just made a sound that might have been a word and kept running. Grabbed another alien, a smaller one with blue skin and large eyes. "Tell us what is happening," he demanded. The alien looked at him with something like panic. "The reactor," it said in broken common language. "The main reactor is failing. If it explodes, the entire station will be destroyed. Everyone will die." Then it pulled away and ran. And looked at each other. "How many people are on the station?" asked. The briefing said over 50,000, replied. 50,000 lives, aliens from dozens of species, scientists, workers, families, children. "We need to help," said. "How? We do not know anything about their technology. We know how to work under pressure, we know how to solve problems, and we know how to help people. That is enough." She turned to her delegation. They were all watching her, waiting for orders. Some of them looked scared. All of them looked ready. "Listen to me," she said firmly. "There is a crisis happening. The station's reactor is failing. We are going to help. Doctor, take your medical team and find the nearest emergency center. Help anyone who is injured. Engineer, take your team and find out where the reactor is. See if there is anything we can do. Captain, organize the rest. We need to help with evacuation." "What about the council?" someone asked. "Should we wait for their instructions?" "No," said. "By the time they give instructions, people will be dead. We act now, questions later." The delegation split up and moved out, and headed toward the center of the station where the chaos was worst. The corridors were packed with aliens trying to flee. Some were pushing, some were falling, some were just standing still, frozen with fear. The emergency systems were not working properly. Doors were jammed. Lights were flickering. The whole station seemed to be shaking. "This is a disaster," muttered. "No," said. "This is what we trained for." She climbed onto a raised platform and shouted as loud as she could. "Stop! Everyone stop!" To her surprise, they did. Hundreds of aliens turned to look at the small human woman standing above them. "Panicking will kill you faster than any explosion," said. Her voice was clear and steady. "If you run without thinking, you will crush each other. If you block the doors, no one gets out. You need to stay calm and move together." "Who are you?" someone shouted. "You are just a human." "I am the person trying to save your life," replied. "Now listen. Form lines. Help those who cannot walk. The elderly and children go first. Everyone else follows in order. If you see someone fall, pick them up. We move together or we die together. Understand?" There was a moment of silence. Then slowly the crowd began to organize itself. Lines formed. Stronger aliens helped weaker ones. The pushing stopped. Stared at with amazement. "How did you do that?" "I have had practice," she said. "Now come, we have more work to do." Meanwhile, and her engineering team had found the reactor. It was located in the deepest part of the station, behind heavy doors and security barriers. Most of the station's engineers had already fled. Only a few remained, trying desperately to stop the failure. Approached the one who seemed to be in charge, a tall alien with 6 arms and too many fingers. "What is the situation?" she asked. The alien looked at her with confusion. "You are human. What can you do?" "I am an engineer. Tell me the situation." The alien hesitated, then pointed at a series of screens showing complicated diagrams. "The cooling system failed 2 hours ago. Without cooling, the reactor is overheating. In approximately 40 minutes, it will reach critical temperature and explode. Can you shut it down?" "The shutdown protocols are not working. Something is blocking the commands." studied the screens. The technology was different from anything on Earth, but the basic principles were familiar. Heat needed to be removed. Commands needed to reach the reactor. Something was preventing both. "Show me the cooling system," she said. The alien brought up more diagrams, looked at them carefully, tracing the paths of coolant and energy. Her team gathered around her, adding their own observations. "There," one of them said, pointing at a junction point. "That section is offline. If we can restart it manually, the cooling might resume." "Where is it located?" asked. The alien checked. "Section 7. But that area is already exposed to dangerous levels of radiation. Anyone who goes there will be poisoned." "How dangerous?" "Fatal exposure in less than 30 minutes." Was quiet for a moment. Then she turned to her team. "I need volunteers. This is not an order. Anyone who goes might not come back." Every single person raised their hand. Smiled sadly. "I only need 3, and myself. The rest of you stay here and work on the command problem. Find out what is blocking the shutdown." "Wait," the alien engineer said. "You cannot go. The radiation will kill you." "Maybe," said, "but if we do nothing, 50,000 people will die for certain. That is not a choice. That is simple math." She and her 2 teammates put on whatever protective gear they could find. Not much, just basic suits that would slow the radiation slightly. Then they headed toward Section 7. The journey was difficult. The corridors in the damaged area were twisted and broken. Smoke filled the air. Strange fluids leaked from cracked pipes. The temperature rose with every step, and could feel the radiation pressing against her like invisible heat. "Keep moving," she said. "We are almost there." They reached the junction point after 15 minutes. It was a mess: melted metal, burnt wires, and broken controls. But at the center was a large valve that controlled the coolant flow. It was stuck in the closed position. "We need to open it," said, "by hand." Examine the valve. It was massive, designed to be operated by machines, not people. "It will take all of our strength." "Then we use all of our strength." They grabbed the valve together, 3 humans against a piece of machinery designed for giants. They pushed. They pulled. They threw every bit of energy they had into moving that valve. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then slowly, it began to turn. Back in the control room, the alien engineers watched their screens with disbelief. The cooling system was coming back online. Temperatures were dropping. The reactor was stabilizing. "It is working," one of them said. "How is it working?" "The humans," another replied. "They fixed the junction." Meanwhile, across the station, Captain was leading evacuation efforts. He had organized the human soldiers into teams, each one responsible for a different section. They moved through corridors, broke open jammed doors, carried those who could not walk, and kept everyone calm. "This way," shouted, guiding a group toward the emergency shuttles. "Stay together, keep moving." An alien child had gotten separated from its parents. It was small and scared, crying in a language did not understand. He picked it up and carried it with him, searching for its family. "We will find them," he said gently. "Do not worry." He did not know if the child understood his words, but it understood his tone. It stopped crying and held on to him tightly. Doctor and her medical team had set up an emergency treatment center in one of the large halls. Injured aliens were being brought in constantly: burns, broken bones, radiation exposure, shock. The equipment was unfamiliar, but adapted quickly. "The basic anatomy is different, but the principles are the same," she told her team. "Stop the bleeding, stabilize the patient, keep them calm." They worked without rest, treating alien after alien. Some of them had never seen humans before. Some of them had laughed at humans just yesterday. Now they looked at these small, weak creatures with wonder as they saved their lives. 47 minutes after the alarm first sounded, the crisis was over. The reactor was stable. The cooling system was working. The evacuation had been orderly and successful. No one had died. Counselor arrived at the control room just as and her team were being helped out of Section 7. They were sick from radiation, barely able to stand, but they were alive. Medical teams were already treating them. "You went into a lethal radiation zone," said slowly. "You risked your lives for a station full of strangers." Looked up at him. Her face was pale and her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. "Of course we did. People needed help. What else would we do?" Had no answer. All around the station, the story was the same. Humans had helped with evacuation. Humans had treated the injured. Humans had organized the panic and brought order to chaos. Humans had walked into certain death to save lives. And they had done it without being asked, without waiting for permission, without expecting anything in return. In the great council chamber, the 12 counselors gathered to discuss what had happened. They watched recordings from across the station. They saw the small human woman taking command of a panicked crowd. They saw the human engineer walking into radiation that should have killed her. They saw the human captain carrying an alien child through smoke and fire. "I do not understand," said finally. "Why would they do this? They had nothing to gain. They could have stayed safe and let us handle our own problems." "Because they are humans," Myra said quietly. Her voice had lost its sharpness. "And this is what humans do." Looked at the recordings one more time. He saw standing in the middle of chaos, calm and commanding. He saw reuniting the child with its crying parents. He saw, barely conscious, still asking if the reactor was safe. "We were wrong about them," he said. "We measured the wrong things: strength, telepathy, senses. None of that matters. What matters is this: when everything goes wrong, when hope is lost, when everyone else runs away, humans run toward the danger." The chamber was silent. "They are not a protected species," continued. "They are something else entirely, something we have not seen before." "What do we do with them?" Counselor Myra asked. "Turned off the recordings. We figure out exactly what humanity is capable of, because I suspect we have only seen the beginning." 3 days had passed since the reactor incident. The station was slowly returning to normal. Repairs were being made, the injured were being treated, and the panic was fading into memory. But something had changed. Everyone could feel it. The human delegation had become famous. Everywhere they went, aliens stopped to stare at them. Some bowed their heads. Some whispered to each other. Some approached to say thank you in their own languages. The small, weak creatures that everyone had laughed at were now being treated like heroes. Did not enjoy the attention. She sat in a quiet room with Captain, reviewing reports from Earth and planning their next steps. "The council has called another meeting," said. "They want to see us again." "I expected that," replied. "The question is what they want to discuss." "Our classification." "No, I think they are past that now. I think they want to understand us." A knock came at the door. It opened to reveal Counselor, standing alone without guards or assistants. "May I come in?" he asked. Was surprised. This was the first time a counselor had visited them personally. She nodded and gestured to an empty chair. Entered and sat down. His 4 eyes moved between and studying them with new interest. "I have questions," he said. "Many questions about your species." "We will answer what we can," said. Was quiet for a moment, as if choosing his words carefully. "When the reactor failed, every other species on this station ran. Even my people who have lived here for centuries. We ran. We panicked. We thought only of ourselves." "That is natural," said. "Fear is a survival instinct." "Yes, but you did not run. You helped, you organized, you walked into danger. Why?" Considered the question. It seemed obvious to her, but she realized it might not be obvious to everyone. "Because that is who we are," she finally said. "When there is a problem, we try to fix it. When someone needs help, we try to help them. It is not complicated." But you risked your lives for strangers, for species you had never met, species that had treated you poorly. So, leaned forward. So why? What do you gain from saving aliens who laughed at you, who called you weak and primitive, who planned to exploit you? Smiled slightly. We did not do it for gain, we did it because it was right. Was silent for a long time. I have ruled this council for 200 years, he said finally. I have seen thousands of species. I have studied their behaviors, their motivations, their natures. Every species I have met acts for gain, power, resources, survival. Everything is a transaction. Humans are not different, admitted. We can be selfish. We can be cruel. Our history is full of terrible things we have done to each other, but we can also be selfless. We can sacrifice ourselves for others. We can do things that make no sense, that offer no reward, simply because we believe they are right. How is that possible? Asked. How can the same species be both? I do not know, said honestly. Perhaps it is because we are complicated. Perhaps it is because we have to choose what we want to be. Every human, every day, makes choices about who they are and how they will act. We are not born good or evil. We become what we choose to become. Stood up slowly. I would like to show you something, he said. Will you come with me? And followed him through the station to a room they had never seen before. It was filled with screens and holographic projectors, all showing images and data from a single planet. Earth. We have been watching your world for a long time, explained. Centuries before you received our message, we were already studying you. We collected your broadcasts, your history, your culture, everything. Looked at the images. She saw wars, genocides, slavery, the worst parts of human history displayed on screen after screen. This is why we thought you were primitive, continued. This is why we believed you would be easy to control. Your history is full of violence and cruelty. You destroy your own planet. You kill your own people. By every measure we use, you should have destroyed yourselves long ago. But we did not, said quietly. No, you did not, pressed a button and the images changed. Now they showed different things. Hospitals being built, aid being sent to disaster areas, people helping strangers after earthquakes, floods, and fires, scientists working together across borders, ordinary people risking their lives to save others. This is what we did not understand, said. Every time your species faced destruction, you did not accept it. You fought back. You rebuilt. You helped each other survive. The same species that created weapons of mass destruction also created medicines that saved billions. The same species that started wars also ended them and rebuilt what was broken. That is humanity, said. We are not one thing. We are everything all at once. The capacity for destruction and the capacity for compassion exist in the same hearts. Pulled up more data. After the reactor incident, I ordered a complete review of your history, not just the wars and disasters, but everything. I wanted to understand how you survived. The screens filled with information. Diseases that had killed millions then were conquered. Famines that had threatened extinction then were overcome. Wars that had burned entire continents then ended in peace. Again and again, humanity had faced impossible challenges and found a way through. Your planet has tried to kill you constantly, said. Ice ages, plagues, asteroids, supervolcanoes. Any one of these should have ended your species. Instead, you adapted. You learned. You grew stronger. We had no choice, said. We are not like you. We do not have thousands of years to plan. We do not have multiple home worlds. We have one planet, one life, and a universe that does not care if we survive. So we fight, every day with everything we have. And you never give up, said. It was not a question. Never. Turned off the displays and faced them directly. I have been a counselor for 200 years. In that time, I have seen species rise and fall. I have watched empires crumble. I have witnessed the extinction of races that existed for. Do you know what they all had in common? Shook her head. They stopped trying. When things became too difficult, too painful, too hopeless, they gave up. They accepted defeat. They let themselves die, paused. But you never do. No matter how bad things get, humans keep fighting, keep hopping, keep trying. Is that bad? Asked. It is terrifying, replied. The word hung in the air. Think about it from our perspective, continued. We are the oldest species in this galaxy. We have built the most powerful civilization ever known. We have technology that can destroy planets and create new stars. But we became powerful slowly, over millions of years, with plenty of time to plan and prepare. And humans prompted. Humans went from stone tools to nuclear weapons in less than 10,000 years. You went from horses to spacecraft in less than 200. You went from simple villages to a global civilization in the blink of an eye. And you did it while constantly fighting disasters, diseases, and each other. Moved closer, his 4 eyes fixed on. If you can do that much with so little, what will you do when you have access to the resources of the galaxy? What will you become in 1,000 years? In 10,000? Understood now. The council was not just impressed by what humans had done. They were afraid of what humans might do. You think we are dangerous, she said. I think you have the potential to be the most dangerous species the galaxy has ever seen, replied honestly. Your growth rate, your adaptability, your refusal to accept defeat, these are not normal traits. Most species reach a stable level and stay there. You never stop pushing forward. That does not mean we are a threat. No, but it means we cannot predict you. We cannot control you. We cannot even understand you. And that is what frightens the council most. Stepped forward. So what happens now? Do you try to destroy us before we become too powerful? Was quiet for a moment. Then he did something unexpected. He laughed. It was a strange sound like rocks grinding together, but it was definitely a laugh. That was the first suggestion, he admitted. Some counselors wanted to quarantine your planet. Others wanted to destroy your ships and set your technology back centuries. One even suggested eliminating your species entirely. And you? I told them it would not work, shook his head. You survived ice ages. You survived plagues. You survived wars that killed millions. If we attacked you, we would not destroy you. We would just make you angry. And an angry humanity that knows there are enemies in the stars. That is more dangerous than anything we face now. So what do you suggest? Asked. Something that has never been done before. True partnership. Not the controlled relationship we offer other species, but actual cooperation. Your creativity combined with our resources. Your determination combined with our experience. Together, we might be able to solve problems that neither of us can solve alone. Studied him carefully. Why would the council agree to this? They are afraid of us. Some are afraid, others are excited, others are curious. The council is not a single mind. We argue and disagree just like you do. Paused. But the reactor incident changed things. The council saw humans running toward danger, saving lives, working without rest. They saw something they had never seen before. What did they see? Hope said simply. We have been running this galaxy for, and we have become tired, careful, slow. We have forgotten what it means to take risks, to fight impossible odds, to believe that tomorrow can be better than today. You reminded us. The room was quiet for a long moment. There will still be opposition, said finally. Many of your species will not accept humans as equals. They will see us as a threat. Yes. And there will be humans who do not trust you, who will want to fight. Yes. So this partnership will be difficult, maybe impossible. Nodded, but you never give up, remember. And neither will we. If there is any chance of success, we have to try. Looked at, he nodded slightly. They had come to the stars hopping for acceptance. They had found something better, a chance to change the galaxy. When does the full council meet? Asked. Tomorrow, replied. You will need to convince them that humanity deserves this chance. It will not be easy. Smiled, nothing worth doing ever is. That night she stayed up preparing her speech. She thought about everything she had learned, about the council, about the galaxy, about humanity itself. She thought about the people back on Earth, waiting for news. She thought about the future that might be possible if she said the right words. Captain found her just before dawn, still working. "You should rest," he said. "I will rest when this is done." She looked up at him. "Did you ever imagine we would end up here, standing on the edge of everything?" Sat down beside her. "No, when I was young I thought humans would always be alone. I thought the universe was too big and too empty for us to matter. And now I think the universe is big, but I also think we are bigger than we knew. Everything we have survived, everything we have built, everything we have become, it was preparing us for this moment." Nodded slowly. "Tomorrow I have to convince a council of immortal beings that humanity deserves a place among the stars, that we will not destroy everything they have built, that we can be trusted." "Can we?" Was quiet for a moment. "I do not know. Humans are capable of terrible things, but we are also capable of wonderful things. We are not perfect, we never will be, but we keep trying to be better, and maybe that is enough." She looked out the window at the stars. "Tomorrow we find out." The council chamber was full. Every seat was taken, every viewing platform packed with spectators. Word had spread across the station that something important was happening. The humans were going to speak, and everyone wanted to hear what they would say. Stood at the center of the great chamber, alone. She had asked her delegation to wait outside. This was something she needed to do herself. The 12 counselors looked down at her from their high seats. Some faces showed curiosity, others showed hostility. A few showed something that might have been hope. Counselor sat in the center, his 4 eyes fixed on the small human woman below. "Ambassador of Earth," he announced formally, "you have requested to address the council. You may speak." Took a deep breath. The chamber was silent, waiting. "3 days ago your station almost exploded," she began. 50,000 lives hung in the balance. When the alarm sounded, my people did not run. They did not hide. They did not wait for permission. They simply helped." She paused, letting the words settle. "Some of you have asked why. Why did humans risk their lives for strangers? Why did we walk into radiation that could kill us? Why did we organize your evacuation instead of saving ourselves?" She looked up at the counselors, meeting their eyes one by one. "The answer is simple, because that is what humans do. When we see someone in need, we help. When we see a problem, we try to fix it. When everything seems lost, we keep trying anyway. This is not a strategy. It is not a calculation. It is who we are." Counselor shifted in his seat. "Pretty words," he said, "but your history tells a different story. Your species has spent most of its existence fighting wars, destroying your planet and killing each other. Why should we believe you have changed?" Nodded slowly. "You are right. Our history is full of darkness. We have done terrible things to each other and to our world. We do not deny this. We cannot deny this." She stepped forward, her voice growing stronger. "But here is what you do not understand about humans. We are not defined by our worst moments. We are defined by what we do after them. Every war we have fought taught us the cost of violence. Every disaster we have faced taught us how to survive. Every mistake we have made taught us how to be better." Words repeated, just words. "Then let me give you facts," replied. 100 years ago we had 2 world wars that killed over 100 million of our people. The hatred was so deep, the destruction so complete, that many believed we would never recover. But we did. Nations that had been enemies became allies. Cities that had been destroyed were rebuilt. We created international organizations to prevent future wars. We did not always succeed, but we never stopped trying. She pulled out a small device and projected images into the air. The council watched as pictures of human achievement filled the chamber. Hospitals, schools, aid workers, scientists from different countries working together, ordinary people helping strangers. 50 years ago, we faced a disease that threatened to kill millions. Scientists from every nation worked together, sharing knowledge, ignoring borders, racing against time. They created a solution in less than a year. Millions of lives were saved because humans chose cooperation over competition. The images changed again, showing the Earth from space. 30 years ago, we realized we were destroying our own planet. Our oceans were dying. Our air was poisoned. Our climate was changing. Some said it was too late. Some said we should just accept our fate. But we did not. We changed our industries, our cities, our entire way of life. We are still fixing the damage, but we are fixing it together. She turned off the projector and faced the council directly. This is humanity. We make mistakes, terrible mistakes, but we learn from them. We grow. We get better, not always fast enough, not always completely, but always we keep moving forward. Counselor Myra leaned forward, her silver skin gleaming in the light. And what do you want from us, Ambassador? What does humanity seek from the council? Partnership, said simply. Real partnership, not the controlled relationships you offer other species, not protection or supervision or management, true cooperation between equals. Myra's eyes narrowed. You have been in space for barely a generation. You have technology that is centuries behind ours. How can you be our equals? Because equality is not about power or technology. It is about respect. It is about recognizing that every species has something to offer, something to teach, something to contribute. Yes, you have been in space longer than us. Yes, your technology is more advanced, but we have things you have forgotten. Such as smiled, hope, drive, the belief that tomorrow can be better than today. You have lived for, but somewhere along the way you stopped growing. You stopped taking risks. You stopped believing in change. You built a stable civilization, but stability is not the same as progress. The chamber was very quiet now. Humans are not stable, continued. We are chaotic and messy and unpredictable. We argue and fight and disagree. But we also dream. We imagine impossible things and then find ways to make them real. We refuse to accept that something cannot be done. And that drives us forward, always forward, even when it seems impossible. Counselor spoke for the first time since the session began. Some of my colleagues believe that humanity's nature makes you dangerous, that your growth rate and unpredictability threaten the stability of the galaxy. How do you respond to this? Thought carefully before answering. They are right to be cautious. Humans are dangerous. We have the capacity for great destruction, but we also have the capacity for great creation. The same minds that built weapons also built medicines. The same hands that started wars also reached out in friendship. She looked around the chamber, addressing everyone present. You can choose to fear us. You can try to contain us, control us, destroy us, but you will fail. Not because we are powerful, but because we never give up. Every obstacle you put in our path will only make us more determined. Every setback will only make us work harder. This is not a threat. It is simply the truth of who we are. And if we choose to welcome you instead, asked, then you will have the most loyal partners you have ever known. When humans give their friendship, we give it completely. When we make a promise, we keep it. When we stand beside someone, we do not abandon them, no matter how difficult things become. Took another step forward, her voice filled with conviction. 3 days ago, my people proved this. They did not know the aliens on this station. They had no reason to risk their lives, but they did it anyway because that is what partners do. That is what friends do. That is what humans do. She paused, gathering herself for the final words. The choice is yours, honored counselors. You can see us as a threat and make us your enemy, or you can see us as an opportunity and make us your friend. But know this, Whatever you decide, humanity will keep moving forward. We will explore the stars with or without your permission. We will grow and change and become something greater than we are now. The only question is whether we do it together or apart." She bowed her head slightly. "I have said what I came to say. Thank you for listening." The chamber was silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Then slowly, Counselor rose from his seat. "The council will deliberate," he announced. "Ambassador, please wait outside. We will call you when we have reached a decision." Walked out of the chamber with her head held high. Captain and the rest of the delegation were waiting in the corridor. They had watched her speech on screens outside. "That was incredible," said quietly. "It was the truth," replied. "Now we wait." They waited for 6 hours. Finally, the doors opened. A guard gestured for them to enter. The council chamber looked different now. The hostility in the air was gone. Something else had taken its place, something harder to define. The counselors watched the human delegation enter, their expressions unreadable. Stood at the center of the chamber. "The council has reached a decision," he announced. His voice echoed through the vast space. "It was not easy. We argued, we debated. Some of us changed our minds more than once." He paused, looking directly at. "In the end, we realized something. You were right. We have been stable for too long. We have forgotten what it means to grow, to change, to take risks. We have been so focused on maintaining what we have that we stopped imagining what we could become." Held her breath. "Humanity is dangerous. This is true. But you are also something we need. A reminder of what we once were and what we could be again. Your chaos might shake our stability, but stability without progress is just another word for stagnation." Raised his hand in a formal gesture. "By unanimous vote, the Galactic Council offers humanity full membership, not as a protected species, not as a subordinate partner, as equals with all the rights and responsibilities that entails." The chamber erupted in murmurs. Some were shocked, some were pleased, some were worried, but the decision was made. Stepped forward. "On behalf of Earth and all of humanity, I accept this offer with gratitude and humility. We know we have much to learn. We know we will make mistakes, but we promise to stand beside you, to fight beside you, to work beside you for a better future." "Then let this be the beginning," said, "of a new chapter for all of us." Later that night, stood by the window of her quarters one last time. The stars stretched out before her, countless and beautiful. Somewhere out there was Earth, waiting for news, waiting to hear if humanity had a future among the stars. Joined her as he often did. "We did it," he said. "We started something," corrected. "The real work begins now, building trust, proving ourselves, learning to work with species that are nothing like us." "Are you worried?" Smiled. "No, I am excited. For the first time in human history, we are not alone. We have partners. We have a place in something bigger than ourselves. Whatever challenges come, we will face them together." She looked out at the stars one more time. "The council thought they understood us. They saw our weaknesses, our short lives, our history of violence. They thought we were simple, predictable, easy to control." "They were wrong," said. "They were very wrong." Turned away from the window, ready to face whatever came next. "But now they understand, and the galaxy will never be the same." The message reached Earth 1 week later. The news spread across every country, every city, every village. Humanity had done it. They had reached the stars and found their place among them. People celebrated in the streets. Children looked up at the sky with new wonder. Scientists began planning expeditions to distant worlds. Artists created works inspired by the possibilities ahead. And in the council station, far from Earth, a small group of humans began the work of building bridges between worlds. It would not be easy. There would be setbacks and failures and moments of doubt, but they would keep trying. Because that is what humans do. They never stop trying. And now, finally, the galaxy understood. They were not ready for humanity. But ready or not, humanity had arrived. And everything was about to change.